the Redmi Note 5 Pro changed the camera game on budget smartphones for good, forcing the competition to include good set of cameras on their budget smartphones. Xiaomi continued doing this over and over with their Note 6 Pro and the Note 7 Pro, and now the Note 8 Pro is here. Will it still continue this trend? Hey guys, I'm Sagar from TechWorks, and in this video, let us find out how good the cameras on this Redmi Note 8 Pro really are. For some reason, most people usually associate the number of cameras on a smartphone with the quality of those cameras. So to ride on this wave of thought, Redmi included 5 cameras on the Note 8 Pro. Yes, you heard me right, 5 cameras. 4 of which are placed at the back and 1 at the front. Primary camera gets a new 64 megapixel sensor with f1.9 aperture and 26mm lens. You might see or hear about a 64 megapixel camera on a smartphone and get very excited. But having so many pixels on a small size sensor means each individual pixel will receive less light. To cope up with this, the 64 megapixel Samsung sensor uses pixel binning to combine information from 4 pixels into 1 pixel, giving us a sharper 16 megapixel image by default. But if you want, you can take 64 megapixel images as well. Next camera gets a 8 megapixel sensor with f2.2 aperture and a 13mm ultra wide angle lens. Then there is a 2 megapixel camera with f2.4 aperture, and this one gets a dedicated macro lens which lets you get extremely close to any subject. Finally, we have another 2 megapixel sensor with f2.4 aperture, and this camera is only used for sensing depth information for portrait shots. Note 8 Pro lets you shoot 4K 30fps videos, 1080p 30, 60 and 120fps videos, and 720p slow motion videos in up to 960fps. At the front, there is a 20 megapixel camera with f2.0 aperture, and it can shoot 1080p videos at 30fps. The camera interface is pretty similar to other Xiaomi smartphones, where you swipe in either directions to switch modes. There is an option to switch lenses right above the shutter button. The 0.6x button is for the wide lens, 1x is for the primary lens, and there is also a 2x option, but there is no 2x lens on this phone. So when you press this button, the phone just crops in on the image taken with the primary camera, so it is just digital zoom. And at the top, we have the option to switch to the new macro lens. In the Pro mode, you can adjust all settings like white balance, focus, shutter speed and ISO according to your liking. Shutter speed in this mode ranges from 1/1000th of a second all the way up to 32 seconds, and the range from ISO is from 100 to 3200. You can take 64 megapixel images from this mode as well, but there is no option to shoot raw images. Now before we get back to the image and video samples, if you are new to this channel, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon next to it. That way, you won't miss out on any of the amazing videos coming up on this channel. Starting with the daytime images. As you can see, there are plenty of details in these 16 megapixel images. All these images are sharp and there is plenty of contrast in them. All these images look so good that it is really hard to believe that they came out of a budget smartphone. Colors look good and very pleasing. They are natural and accurate. If you want slightly punchy looking colors, then you should turn on the AI scene detection mode. By default, the dynamic range of the primary camera is pretty good, but with the HDR mode turned on, it gets even better. Even with the HDR mode set to auto, it brings up a lot more details on the shadows while preserving the highlights. In this image, we can see so many details inside this large hall, and at the same time, we can also make out what's outside the windows in the bright light. Same is the case with this image. Note 8 Pro managed to bring out so many details on the shadows while preserving most of the details in the highlights from outside the window. Since the HDR mode really helps improve the images, I went ahead and left it on auto for all the images that I took. I like taking close-up images, and I need the camera to set the focus quickly and accurately for these shots, which the Note 8 Pro manages to do really well. You can see that the subjects in all these shots are in perfectly sharp focus, and the background is nicely blurred out thanks to the wide aperture. The Note 8 Pro also lets us get even closer to the subject for taking macro shots thanks to the new dedicated macro camera. And I really liked how these images turned out. With plenty of light around, you can get extremely close to your subject and click a very nice looking macro shot. This feature might not excite everyone, but if you are someone who takes a lot of close-up and macro shots, you are going to love it. Just like the macro camera, there is a dedicated ultra-wide lens, and it lets you take these cool looking shots which you would not be able to take otherwise with a normal lens. In a way, you can replicate the images shot with a telephoto lens by digitally cropping in on the images, like the Note 8 Pro does when you hit the 2x button. But getting ultra-wide angle shots without having an ultra-wide lens is something that is hard to achieve digitally. This wide lens and the sensor behind it is not as good as the primary camera, so these images don't look as sharp or have as many details. But they definitely come in handy in situations where you want to show the scale of the things in your scene, or in situations where you just don't have place to move back, but you still need to get the subject in your shot. By default, the images from the primary camera are shot at 16 megapixels using pixel binning, but you can switch to the 64 megapixel mode if you want high resolution images, and unlike the 48 megapixel images from the Note 7 Pro, these 64 megapixel images actually have more details than the 16 megapixel ones, and they look very sharp even when you zoom in 3 to 4 times. So if you want more details in your shots and you are in bright lighting conditions, switch to the 64 megapixel mode. But you should also know these images will be much larger in terms of file size. And while taking images in lower light, stick to the 16 megapixel mode since it uses pixel binning, which results in lower noise levels. Redmi smartphones have been one of the best when it comes to portrait mode. They have been learning and perfecting it over time, and now just look at how good it has got. The subject is in sharp focus, edge detection is near perfect, and there are no hard edges, so the transition between the subject and the background looks seamless, and the background is also blurred out nice and evenly. Dynamic range while taking portrait shots should have been a bit better, but the overall images still look very good. You can take portraits of objects and the images turn out just as good, if not better. It can detect edges perfectly even if the objects are as complex as this. Looking at these portrait shots, it is hard to believe that they came out of a 15,000 rupees smartphone. As the light starts to go down, we start seeing some changes in the quality of images. It still does really well for a phone of this price, but you start to see a lot of noise creeping in these images. Colors are still natural, and the images look good if you are looking them on a screen of a smartphone. And the Note 8 Pro also handles the exposure from light really well. If you want to take even better images in lower light, you can switch to the night mode. These night mode images have a bit more light and details, and the noise levels are also kept in check. In some situations, the difference that this night mode makes is very big and apparent, while in others it is more subtle. In either case, you get better images with the night mode turned on. But these images do take a couple of seconds to capture, so make sure you hold the phone steady, and if you have people in your shot, ask them to be very still, or else they will be blurred out. That brings us to the 20 megapixel front facing camera. There are plenty of details in the selfies that this camera can take. I think there is a bit of artificial sharpening being applied to these images, but most people won't mind it as it makes the images feel more detailed. You can take portrait selfies with the front facing camera, and even without the secondary depth sensor, it does a very good job of detecting the edges and blurring the background, even if you have multiple people in the shot. Here's a video from the front facing camera of the Redmi Note 7 Pro. You can see how it handles the overall colors of the scene, exposure and stabilization when I am walking around with it. 1080p 30fps videos are stabilized via electronic stabilization. These videos don't look very impressive as they are not of very high bitrate, and the exposure also changes abruptly, which doesn't look very good. 4K 30fps videos are not stabilized in any way, but they look nice and detailed, and with a bit of stabilization applied via Google Photos app, they can look really good. Thankfully, these videos are not as choppy as the videos from the Redmi Note 7 Pro were when it first came out. So after looking at all the image and video samples, what do you think about the cameras on the Note 8 Pro? If it wasn't clear from the video, personally, I am very impressed with the cameras on this phone. For many of the images, especially while shooting in portrait mode, it is difficult to believe that a phone starting at 14,999 rupees can do such a great job. For this price, I think you won't find a better set of cameras in the market right now. So if you are looking for a new smartphone under 20,000 rupees and the camera is your top priority, then just don't think about anything and get the Redmi Note 8 Pro. Cameras on this phone are so good that I am going to have to compare it with the other big phones that I have. Those videos are going to be very interesting ones and you don't want to miss them. So make sure you have turned on the notifications for this channel. That is it for this video, guys. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to the channel for more quality tech videos like this. You can also check out some of the other videos from this channel. This has been Sagar and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.